We good? All praises. You straight on that side? Yes. All praises. Well, first thing first, we're going to start off by giving all praises, all glory, all honor to the Most High God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, through his only begotten Son, Jesus Christ. Secondly, we're going to give double honors to our elders. Our elders rule well. Our elders are counted worthy of double honors. Our elders get their double honors. Thirdly, lastly, I want to say shalom to all of my brothers, all of my sisters out there. Greetings. Happy day of Simon. This is your brethren, priest Lithiyel ben Israel, and I am back again with another class, another topic. But before we proceed any further, I want you out there, get your Bibles with your Apocrypha included and read along with us if you can. Also get your pens and your paper, your pencils and your parchment, and take notes if it is in your spirit. Lord's willing, this will be an edifying lesson that I am going to entitle Simon Thassi. Let's open up in Sirach 14:14 real quick.
The book of Sirach, chapter 14, verse 14.
Read.
Defraud not thyself of the good day.
Defraud not thyself of the good day. Read.
And let not the part of a good desire overpass thee.
And let not the part of a good desire overpass thee. The good desire is to keep the good day. If you let that desire overpass you, you defraud yourself. You cheated yourself, yo. Real talk. Now, what is the good day? The good day is the feast days, the holy days of God. Give me folder 0, please. Let me get my first folder. Folder 0. Let me get that. Let me know we're straight. We good? Let's read this. Jewish holidays.
Jewish holidays, also known as Jewish festivals, or Yamin Tovim, Hebrew, literally good days.
Or singular Yom Tov. Or singular Yom Tov. So the good day or the good days are the holidays of the Jews, the holy days of the Jews, the festivals of the Jews, yo. Real talk. Hey, it says, keep reading.
In translated Hebrew,
Right there.
Holidays observed in Judaism.
Judaism is not talking about modern Judaism. It's talking about ancient Judaism, which was the practice of keeping God's laws. Read.
And by Jews throughout the Hebrew calendar.
Read.
They include religious, cultural, and national elements derived from 3 sources.
So we get our holy days from 3 sources according to them, but it's really 2 sources. Keep going.
Biblical mitzvot, commandments.
Which are the commandments. The biblical mitzvah is the commandments. We get our holy days out of the law of God. Right?
Rabbinic
mandates. We don't care about that. I don't give a damn about no rabbinic mandate. Keep going.
And the history of Judaism and the state of Israel.
So we get our holy days from the commandments of God, and we get our holy days out of our history. We find the holy days in the commandments and in the histories. For example, anything else go over?
Yes.
All right, so yeah, read that.
Judaism, Jewish holidays.
See what it says? Yom Tov.
Yep.
Judaism, Jewish holidays, literally good day. So Yom Tov, or the Jewish holidays, are literally the good days. The good days. Go over. We already read that. Anything else?
No.
Nothing else? Hey, so we find the holy days of God where? In the commandments of God. Give me Leviticus chapter 23. Leviticus chapter 23, read verse 5. Let's get some examples of finding the holy days in the biblical mitzvah, in the commandments. Read this.
The book of Leviticus chapter 23 and verse 5.
Read.
In the 14th day of the first month at even is the Lord's Passover. And on the 15th day of the same month is the feast of unleavened bread unto the Lord. 7 days ye must eat unleavened bread. And the first day.
Oh, no, that's it. What verse is that?
That was verse 6.
That was verse 6. So right here in the commandments, you find what? The Passover and the unleavened bread. Hey, jump down to verse 24.
Verse 24. Speak unto the children of Israel, saying, and the 7th month, and the first day of the month, shall ye have a Sabbath, a memorial of blowing of trumpets, a holy convocation.
So in the commandments, you read about the Passover, the unleavened bread, the memorial blowing of trumpets. But you also read about the Day of Atonement. You also read about the tabernacles. You read about the first fruits in the biblical mitzvah, in the commandments, in the law. But you also find the good days, the feast days, the holy days in the histories of the Jews. Give me John chapter 10. St. John chapter 10 and verse 22 real quick. Read 22 and 23, please.
The book of John, you said John 10?
John 10, 22 and 23.
The book of St. John, chapter 10 and verse 22.
Read.
And it was at Jerusalem, the feast of the dedication.
And it was at Jerusalem, the feast of the dedication. What is the feast of dedication also known as? Hanukkah. Hanukkah. They were celebrating the Hanukkah, the feast of dedication at Jerusalem. Read it again.
And it was at Jerusalem, the feast of the dedication, and it was winter.
Read.
And Jesus walked in the temple in Solomon's porch.
So Jesus Christ, the Hamashiach Yahushua, he was keeping the dedication. He was keeping Hanukkah. Now, where do you find this feast day or these feast days? Do you find it in the biblical mitzvah? No, you find it in the histories of the Jews. Give me that in 1 Maccabees 4 and 59.
1 Maccabees chapter 4 verse 59. Moreover, Judas and his brethren with the whole congregation of Israel.
Talking about Judas Maccabeus and his brethren with the whole congregation of Israel. Read.
Ordained that the days of the dedication of the altar should be kept in their season from year to year by the space of 8 days, from the 25th day of the month Caslu, with mirth and gladness.
With mirth and gladness. Where do you find Hanukkah, the feast of dedication? In the histories. In the history of the Jews. Give me 1 Maccabees chapter 13. Give me 1 Maccabees 13, 51.
1 Maccabees chapter 13 and verse 51.
Read.
And entered into it the 23rd day of the second.
Matter of fact, hold up real quick. What I call verse 51?
Yeah, you want to jump down to
Look at it real fast. No. Start at 50 and read down to 52.
Book of 1 Maccabees chapter 13 verse 50.
Read.
Then cried they to Simon, beseeching him to be at one with them, which thing he granted them. And when he had put them out from thence,
Read.
he cleansed the tower from pollution.
Talking about Simon Thassi. When he put them out of the tower, he cleansed the tower of the pollutions of the Gentiles. Read.
And entered into it the 23rd day of the second month.
And he entered into that tower on the 23rd day of the second month, which we know, or which the Bible calls Ziph. The Bible calls this second month Ziph. Read.
And the 171st year with thanksgiving.
And that was the 171st year of the Greeks. He entered into that tower with thanksgiving. Read.
and branches of palm
and
trees,
branches of palm trees,
and with harps,
and with harps,
and cymbals,
cymbals,
and with vials,
and with vials,
and hymns,
and songs,
because there was destroyed a great enemy out of Israel.
because on that day there was destroyed a great enemy out of Israel. That day being the 23rd day of the month of Ziphiel. Hey, give me Lucas. Give me 1 Kings 6:1 to show that the second month is called Ziph, and then we're gonna come right back here. We're gonna come right back here. Read this. 1 Kings 6:1.
The book of 1 Kings, chapter 6, verse 1. And it came to pass in the 408th year, after the children of Israel were come out
In the
of
480th year.
Salakia, 80th year, after the children of Israel were come out of the land of Egypt.
Read.
In the 4th year of Solomon's reign over Israel, in the month Ziph,
In the month Ziph. Read.
which is the second month,
Which is the second month. Read.
that he began to build the house of the Lord.
So the second month in the Bible, the second month was called Ziph. Ziph. Let's go back to the book of 1 Maccabees 13. I want to read 52 now.
The book of 1 Maccabees, chapter 13, verse 52.
Read.
He ordained also that day.
He ordained also that day being the 23rd day of the month Ziph, the 23rd day of the second month. Read it again.
He ordained also that day should be kept every year with gladness.
That day should be kept annually, every year with gladness. Man, read.
Moreover, the hill of the temple that was by the tower he made stronger than it was, and there he dwelt himself with his company.
And there he dwelt himself with his company. Talk about Simon Thassi. And in this class, we're going to remember Simon Thassi. Real talk. Give me the book of 1 Maccabees 14:29.
1 Maccabees chapter 14, verse 29. For as much as oftentimes there have been wars in the country, wherein for the maintenance of their sanctuary,
For the maintenance of the sanctuary
and the law,
and for the law of God. Read.
Simon the son of Mattathias,
Simon the son of Mattathias. Read.
of the posterity of Jorib,
Of the posterity of Jarib or Jarib, right? These men, Mattathias, Simon, and his brethren, these men were descendants of Aaron. They were Levites. They were Levites. Give me 1 Chronicles 24. 1 Chronicles 24. Let's start at verse 6.
the book of 1 Chronicles chapter 24 and verse 6. And Shemaiah the son of Lithiyel, the scribe, one of the Levites, wrote them before the king, the princes, and Zadok the priest,
Read.
and Ahimelech the son of Abiathar, and before the chief of the fathers of the priests and Levites, one principal household being taken for Eleazar, and one taken for Ithamar.
And one taken for Ithamar. Read.
Now the first lot came forth to Jehoiarib.
There we go. Now the first lot came forth to Jehoiarib. Jehoiarib is Jarib or Jarib. Same person. Different spellings of their names. Same person. Read that again.
Now the first lot came forth to Jehoiarib, the second to Jedediah.
Give me 1 Chronicles 9 and 10. 1 Chronicles 9 and 10.
Book of 1 Chronicles chapter 9 and verse 10. And of the priest Jedediah and Jehoiarib and Joachim.
And Jehoiarib. See, Jehoiarib was a priest. He was a descendant of Aaron through Eleazar. Let's go back to the book of 1 Maccabees 14 and verse 29 again.
1 Maccabees chapter 14 and verse 29. For as much as oftentimes there have been wars in the country, wherein for the maintenance of their sanctuary and the law,
And for the law of God.
Simon the son of Mattathias, of the posterity of Jarib, together with their brethren,
Together with his brethren. Read.
put themselves in jeopardy.
They put themselves in jeopardy. Mattathias, Simon, his brethren, they put themselves in jeopardy. Read.
And resisting the enemies of their nation, did their nation great honor.
And they fought against the enemies of their nation. And they did their nation great honor. Great honor. They jeoparded themselves. They even died for this. They were killed for their nation. Give me that real quick in chapter 13. Chapter 13. Chapter 13, and I want verse 4.
The book of First Maccabees, chapter 13, verse 4. By reason whereof all my brethren are slain for Israel's sake, and I am left alone.
These men jeoparded their lives, gave their lives for their nation, for their people, yo. And we're going to remember these brothers. This is the beautiful part about remembering the day of Simon. See, when you remember the day of Simon, you get to remember Mattathias, and you get to remember Simon, and you get to remember his brethren. Who are his brethren? Give me that real quick. First Maccabees chapter 2. First Maccabees chapter 2. Let's start at 1 and read on down.
The book of First Maccabees, chapter 2 and verse 1. In those days arose Mattathias, the son of John, the son of Simeon, a priest of the sons of Joarib, from Jerusalem, and dwelt in Modin.
Modin was the city of his fathers. Modin was the city of his fathers. Give me that real quick. First Maccabees 13. First Maccabees chapter 13 and verse 25.
First Maccabees chapter 13 and verse 25.
Read.
Then sent Simon and took the bones of Jonathan his brother and buried them in Modin, the city of his fathers.
Simon took Jonathan's bones and buried them in Modin, in the city of his fathers. So Modin was the city of the fathers of the Hasmonean dynasty, the Maccabean dynasty. Modin was the city of their fathers. Also, Modin was the place of their ancestral sepulchres, their family graveyard. That's where they buried their family at. Matter of fact, give me that real quick. First Maccabees chapter 2. Let's start at verse 49.
First Maccabees chapter 2 and verse 49.
Read.
Now, when the time drew near that Mattathias should die, he said unto his sons, now have pride and rebuke gotten strength, and the time of destruction, and the wrath of indignation.
Jump down to verse 70.
Verse 70. And he died.
Talking about Mattathias, read.
In the 146th year.
In the 146th year of the Greeks, read.
And his sons buried him in the sepulchres of his fathers at Modin.
And his sons buried him in the sepulchres of his fathers at Modin. See, in the city of Modin, that's where the Maccabees, the Hasmonean Empire, that's where they had their ancestral burial grounds. That's where they buried their forefathers at, their brothers at. Read.
And all Israel made great lamentation for him.
First Maccabees 9 and 19.
First Maccabees chapter 9 and verse 19. Thus they go, the strong cities in the land
First
of Egypt.
Maccabees 9 and 19.
The book of First Maccabees, chapter 9, verse 19. Then Jonathan and Simon took Judas, their brother,
Judas Maccabees, read.
and buried him in the sepulchre of his fathers in Modin.
And buried him in the sepulchre of his fathers in Modin, yo. In Modin. Also, in Modin, this is the place where Simon Thassi built up those 7 pyramids. The 7th place, he built it up in that city, in Modin. Give me that real quick. First Maccabees chapter 13. He built up a great sepulcher in Modin. Chapter 13, I want to start at 27.
The book of First Maccabees chapter 13 verse 27. Simon also built a monument upon the sepulchre of his father.
So Simon built up a monument upon the sepulchre of his father. Simon was a builder. He built it up Jerusalem. Keep going.
And his brethren, and raised it aloof to the sight.
And he raised it aloft. He raised it aloft to the sight, meaning he raised this monument up so high that people could see it from miles away. People were able to see this monument from miles away. Keep going.
With hewn stone behind and before.
Read.
Moreover, he set up 7 pyramids.
Moreover, he set up 7 pyramids, and he built these pyramids on this monument that he raised up aloft. He built 7 pyramids on this monument. Read it again.
Moreover, he set up 7 pyramids, one against another.
Read.
For his father.
For his father.
And his mother.
And his mother.
And his 4 brethren.
And for his 4 brethren. Read.
And in these he made cunning devices.
And in these pyramids he put booby traps, like what you saw in Indiana Jones or something. Matter of fact, that's where Indiana Jones got their ideas from, of booby trapping pyramids and temples. Simon Thassi. Read it again.
And in these he made cunning devices, about the which he set great pillars.
He set great pillars.
And upon the pillars he made all their armor for a perpetual memory.
He put the armor of his father and his brethren up there for a perpetual memory. It's almost like it became an exhibit. Yo. Keep going.
and by the armor ships carved, that they might be seen of all that sail on the sea.
That's how high that monument was lifted up. It was lifted up so high that people could see it from the ocean. From the ocean. That's how high he lifted it up. That's amazing, man. Keep going.
This is the sepulchre which he made at Modin.
That's the sepulchre he made at Molten Reed.
And it standeth yet unto this day.
And at the time that this was being written, that sepulchre was still standing at Modin. Hey, give me Modin. The folder that says Modin. It's a folder that says it. Let me get that real quick. Yeah. Let me know when we straight. Go ahead, read that.
Modin. It was the native city of the Maccabean family.
There you go. Go over. Oh, see that right there says at. Oh, matter of fact, no, you don't have to read that. I'm good. Go over. I'll take the underline.
The description of the monument seems to imply that the spot was so lofty as to be visible from the sea.
Damn.
And so near that even the details of the sepulchre were discernible therefrom.
He said even the details, talking about the carvings in the stone, were discernible from the sea. You could make out the carvings in the stone from the waters, from the ocean, from the ship. You ain't even have to get off the ship and go to land. Go over. Is that it? All praises. Let's go from there. Let's see here. Let's go back to First Maccabees 2:1.
First Maccabees chapter 2, verse 1. In those days arose Mattathias, the son of John, the son of Simeon, a priest of the sons of Joarib, from Jerusalem, and dwelt in Modin.
Read.
And he had 5 sons.
He had 5 sons. Mattathias had 5 sons. Read.
Johanan, called Caddis.
Yeah, Johanan, his firstborn, who was called Caddis or Gaddis. In my Bible, I have an annotation that says or Gaddis. Keep going.
Simon, called Thassi.
His second-born son was Simon Thassi. Simon Thassi. Read.
Judas, who was called Maccabeus.
His third-born, Judas Maccabeus.
Eleazar, called Abaron.
His fourth-born, Eleazar, Abaron. Read.
And Jonathan, whose surname was Apis.
And Jonathan, whose surname was Apis. These are the 5 sons of Mattathias. The 5 sons. You have Jonathan, who was called Caddis, Simon called Thassi, Judas called Maccabeus, Eleazar, Abaron, and Jonathan, whose surname was Apis. These were their nicknames. These were their nicknames. Hey, give me my next folder. Give me my next folder. Is that it? I'm on. Let me see. Go back to that. Yeah, I want that one too, because I should have brought this one out. Hell yeah, I want this one too. I forgot to get this one. So we're going to do them all. Real talk. Then after this, go straight to number 3. Look at this. We straight. Look at this. Joarib, right? Joarib, ancestor of Mattathias. First Maccabees 14:29. Given as Joarib in the King James Version of First Maccabees 2:1. He was chief of the first of the 24 courses of priests in the reign of David. Varieties of this name are Joarib, or Jehoiarib. That's why I said it's the same person. Just different spellings of the name, man. Names transliterate, contrary to what the simple among us may believe. Go over. It says Jarib or Jarib. This is what the name means. Striver, contender, defender, avenger, adversary, enemy. That's a hard name, yo. That is a hard name. Go out of here. I think it's number 2. That's it. That's it. Read this. Because remember it said Jonathan, whose surname was Apis. Apis was his nickname. Read this.
Can surnames be nicknames? Yes, surnames can be nicknames.
There you go. Surnames can be nicknames. Go over. Read this.
There are 4 main types of surname. Local surnames, surnames of relationship.
Like your wife taking your last name.
Surnames of occupation, and nicknames. The surnames that we read about concerning Johanan, Simon, Judas, Eleazar, and Jonathan, these surnames were nicknames. These were their nicknames. Go over. Maccabees. Let's read this. Enlarge this.
Blow it up, bring it down. Read that.
We good?
Yep. It should be good. We straight? Read that.
Maccabees, also spelled Maccabees, flourished 2nd century BCE, Palestine. Priestly family of Jews who organized a successful rebellion against the Seleucid ruler Antiochus III, and reconsecrated the defiled temple of Jerusalem.
Go over. Large that. Bring it down. Just read that. The historical context of Maccabees.
The name Maccabee was a title of honor given to Judas, a son of Mattathias, and the hero of the Jewish Wars of Independence.
That's right.
168 to 164 BCE. Later, the name Maccabees was extended to include his whole family.
So later, that name Maccabees was extended to include his whole family. Read.
Specifically Mattathias,
Starting specifically with his father Mattathias. Read.
his father, and Judas' 4 brothers,
And Judas' 4 brothers. Read.
John,
John.
Simon, Eleazar, and Jonathan.
And Jonathan. Read.
Its use was also extended to John Hyrcanus, Simon's son.
That's cool. Let's go out of that. Let's get the understanding of what these names mean. Let's first start with number 6, John and Eleazar. Just read. Oh, number 1, John the eldest, surnamed Gaddis. The King James Version Gaddis, probably what?
Meaning my fortune.
That's what Gaddis means. That's what Gaddis means. It means my fortune. When Mattathias saw his firstborn son, he said, "This is my fortune." That's what he said. Go over. Let's see. Who else we got? There we go. Simon Thassi. Simon Thassi. Read the highlight.
All right. Names. The name Thassi has a connotation of the wise. A title which can also mean the director, the guide, the man of counsel, and the zealous.
So the name Thassi, Simon Thassi, means Simon the man of counsel. Simon the counselor, or Simon the man of counsel. How do we know it's Simon the man of counsel? Because that's what his father said about him. Give me that real quick in 1 Maccabees chapter 2. No, leave it on the screen. 1 Maccabees chapter 2. You know what I want. 65.
1 Maccabees chapter 2, verse 65. And behold, I know that your brother Simon is a man of counsel. Give ear unto him always. He shall be a father unto you.
This is why Simon was called Thassi. Because Simon was a man of counsel. This is why he was called Simon Thassi, or Simon the man of counsel. Simon the counselor. This was his nickname. Go over. Now let's read this one. Maccabees.
Enlarge a little bit.
Yeah, enlarge it a little bit. All right. And just slide over. Let's see here where I want to start at. Well, just read the highlight. All right.
Maccabees, meaning hammer.
There you go. Judas Maccabeus. Judas the hammer. And why was he called the hammer? Because he was a mighty man. He was a man of war. He was a strong man. Hey, read that real quick. Right. Verse 66.
The book of 1 Maccabees, chapter 2, verse 66. And as for Judas Maccabeus, he had been mighty and strong, even from his youth up. Let him be a captain and fight the battle of the people.
This is why he was called Judas Maccabees. Judas Maccabeus. Judas the hammer. Because he was a mighty man. A strong man. Even from his youth up, Even from his youth up. See, his father, Mattathias, he recognized the characteristics of his sons. He knew who his sons were, what his sons were. He knew Simon was a man of counsel. And he knew that Judas was a strong man. Hey, where's that scripture at where it talks about a child can be recognized by his doings?
Proverbs, yeah.
I need that. I need that. It just popped in my mind. Let me get that one real quick. Proverbs chapter 20 and verse 11.
The book of Proverbs chapter 20 and verse 11. Even a child is known by his doings.
Even a child is known by his doings. Mattathias knew his children. He knew Simon. He knew Judas. He knew Joannan. He knew Eleazar. He knew Jonathan. He knew them because of their doing. He knew them. He knew them by their doings. Read it again.
Even a child is known by his doings, whether his work be pure and whether it be right.
Hey, go over. Let's get the other definitions of the nicknames. Avaron. Yeah, let's just read it.
Avaron, a surname of Eleazar, the third son of Mattathias. 1 Maccabees 2 and 5. It is doubtfully conjectured that Eleazar received the surname from the episode related in 1 Maccabees 6:43-46. The word may mean the piercer.
The word means the piercer. Eleazar Avaron is Eleazar the piercer, yo.
Hard.
Eleazar the piercer. Hey, get that history. 1 Maccabees 6:43-46. Let's read that history real quick.
The book of 1 Maccabees chapter 6 and verse 43. Eleazar, also surnamed Savaron.
Also surnamed Savaron. Savaron is Avaron. Keep going.
Piercing that one of the beasts, armed with royal harness, was higher than all the rest.
It didn't say piercing, it was perceiving, right?
Salakia. Perceiving that one of the beasts, Salakia, armed with royal harness, was higher than all the rest.
Read.
And supposing that the king was upon him.
So Eleazar, the piercer, Eleazar Avaron, Savaron, he looked at one of those elephants. He said, surely the king got to be on this one. It's up higher than the rest of them. Keep going.
Put himself in jeopardy to the end he might deliver his people and get him a perpetual name.
He put himself in jeopardy. Why? To deliver his people. He put himself in jeopardy. Why? To get a perpetual name, a name that would live forever. And guess what he got? A name that lives forever, yo. We were remembering him right now. We're remembering this man right now. His name lives forever. Keep going.
Wherefore he ran upon him courageously through the midst of the battle.
Through the midst of the battle. Read.
Slaying on the right hand and on the left.
Killing on the right hand, killing on the left. Read.
So that they were divided from him on both sides.
Read.
Which done, he crept under the elephant and thrust him under and slew him. Wherefore upon the elephant fell down upon him, there he died.
And there he died. So this is where they say that he got the name or the nickname Avaron or Savaron, the piercer, yo. But that nickname didn't come from him piercing the elephant. It came from him piercing the enemy. Killing the enemy on the right and on the left. That's why they called him Eleazar Avaron. Hey, let's go over. Apis. Jonathan Apis. Gotta go back a little bit. There we go. All right.
What's up, bro? A name?
Yeah, read it from the top.
I bet. A name born by Jonathan, the fifth son of Mattathias. Apis. 1 Maccabees 2 and 5. All the brothers, according to this passage, had double names.
All the brothers, according to this passage, had double names. They had nicknames, surnames, or pseudonyms. Read.
John is said to have been called Gaddis. Simon Thassi. Judas Maccabeus.
Oh, read it again.
Had double names. John is said to have been called Gaddis.
Or my fortune. Read.
Yep. Simon Thassi.
Simon the man of counsel. Read.
Judas Maccabeus.
Judas the hammer. Read.
Eleazar Avaron.
Eleazar the piercer. Read.
Jonathan Apis.
And Jonathan Apis. Let's see what Apis is. Keep going.
1 Maccabees 2 and 2 through 5.
Read.
The later were probably the names which Mattathias gave his sons.
Those were the names he gave his sons because he knew his sons. Read.
While the former were received later when they became leaders of the people.
Damn, read.
The common explanation of the word Apis relates it to
The Syriac.
Chapis, the dismember.
The dissembler.
Dissembler.
Damn it. Jonathan Apis is Jonathan Chapis or Jonathan the dissembler. And I'm assuming you know how he got that name.
Yeah.
He got that name because he was chopping up the enemies. He was dissembling the enemies, yo. Real talk. He was cutting them up, cutting them into little pieces. Kind of like what Samuel did to Agag. Hey, get that what Samuel did to Agag. It just popped in my head and I wanna read it. You know what I want, right?
I'll get it real quick. I didn't get it. It just popped in my mind. Somebody might be like, well, why are you going to this? He's not one of the Maccabees. I'm going to this because he chopped up Agag. That's why I'm going to it. First Samuel 15. And we're going to read verse...
Verse 32. Sorry, 32.
Is that it?
Yep. Then said Samuel, bring ye hither to me Agag the king of the Amalekites. And Agag came unto him delicately. And Agag said, surely the bitterness of death is past. And Samuel said, as thy sword hath made women childless, so shall thy mother be childless among women. And Samuel hewed Agag in pieces before the Lord in Gilgal.
There you go. And Samuel hewed Agag in pieces. See, Samuel was a dissembler too. But he did it to Agag. This man right here did it to a lot of Greeks. A lot of Greeks. Now, as you can see, we talk about nicknames. The idea of nicknames, nothing new. Our people always use nicknames. Our people use nicknames in the time of the Maccabees. Our people use nicknames in the time of Christ. Give me the book of John, chapter 1 and verse 42. Yeah. St. John 1 and 42.
St. John chapter 1 and verse 42.
Read.
And he brought him to Jesus. And when
Start at 40 real quick, because it said he brought him into Jesus. Let's see what it's talking about. Read.
The book of St. John chapter 1 verse 40. One of the two which heard John speak and followed him was Andrew, Simon Peter's brother.
Read.
He first findeth his own brother Simon, and saith unto him,
Talking about Andrew, he found his brother Simon and said unto him what?
we have found the Messiah, which is, being interpreted, the
He
Christ.
said, we found Hamashiach. We found the Christ. Read.
And he brought him to Jesus.
And he brought Simon to Christ, the Hamashiach. Read.
And when Jesus beheld him, he said, thou art Simon, the son of Jonah. Thou shalt be called Cephas.
Thou shalt be called Cephas. Read.
Which is by interpretation a stone.
Or a rock. Or a rock. So Christ gave Simon the nickname Cephas, which is what? Peter. Christ gave Simon the nickname Peter, which means a stone or a rock. Yo, Christ gave him that nickname. Give me Mark chapter 1. Mark 3, actually. Mark 3:17.
The book of Mark, chapter 3, verse 17. And James, the son of Zebedee.
No, start at 16, my fault.
Verse 16. And Simon, he surnamed Peter.
Christ surnamed Simon Peter. Christ gave Simon the surname Cephas, the rock, the stone. Christ gave him that nickname, yo. Keep going.
And James, the son of Zebedee. And John, the brother of James.
Here we go.
And he surnamed them Boanerges. Boanerges.
Yes,
Boanerges, which is the sons of thunder.
Which is the sons of thunder. So Christ gave James and John a nickname too. He gave them the nickname the sons of thunder, yo. So us having nicknames, that's not something new. This is something that we've always done. This is something that our people have always done. Give me 1 Maccabees chapter 5. I want to go back to talking about Simon, Thassi, and his brethren, yo. So we read about Simon Thassi being a man of counsel, a counselor. That's why he was called Thassi. We also read about him being a builder. We read about how he built that great monument in Modin, that sepulcher for his father, his mother, and his brethren. But Simon, he was more than just a counselor, more than just a builder. This man was a warrior. This man was a warrior. Give me 1 Maccabees chapter 5 and start at 1.
1 Maccabees chapter 5 verse 1. Now when the nations round about heard that the altar was built, and the sanctuary renewed as before, it displeased them very much. Wherefore they thought to destroy the generation of Jacob that was among them.
They thought to destroy the generation of Jacob that was among them. They wanted to kill us all. Read.
And thereupon they began to slay and destroy the people.
And they began to kill and destroy the people. Read.
Then Judas fought against the children of Esau.
Judas fought against who?
The children of Esau in Idumea.
Judas Maccabeus fought against the children of Esau in Idumea. He fought against Caucasians in Idumea. Read.
At Arabatan. Because they besieged Israel.
Read.
And he gave them a great overthrow and abated their courage and took their spoils.
And he overthrew Edom. He abated their courage. He made them weak. And he took spoils from them, yo. He took spoils from them. Jump down to 9.
Verse 9. Then the heathen that were at Gilead assembled themselves together.
Then the heathens that were at Gilead. Gilead is just another way of saying Gilead. Another way of saying Gilead. Read it again.
Then the heathen that were at Gilead assembled themselves together against the Israelites that were in their quarters to destroy them. But they fled to the fortress of
Dothamah.
Dothamah.
Keep going.
And sent letters unto Judas and his brethren. The heathen that are round about us are assembled together against us to destroy us.
So the Jews in Gilead or Gilead sent letters to Judas and his brethren about what was taking place in Gilead. Keep going.
And they are preparing to come and take the fortress whereunto we are fled. Timotheus being captain of their host.
Timotheus was an Ammonite. And he was captain of the host of Ammon. Yo, jump up to verse 6.
Verse 6. Afterward he passed over the children of Ammon.
Talking about Judas Maccabeus. After he defeated Esau, he passed over to the children of Ammon. Read.
Where he found a mighty power.
Where he found a mighty power.
And much people.
The Ammonites. Read.
With Timotheus their captain.
So this man Timotheus was an Ammonite. He was captain over Ammon. Read.
Verse 7. So he fought many battles with them.
With the Ammonites.
Till at length they were discomfited before him. And he smote them.
Judas smote the Ammonites. Read.
And when he had taken Jazar.
See, Jazar was a city in Gad. It was a city in Gad that was being occupied by Ammon. Ammon was occupying Gad. Matter of fact, just popped in my mind. Isn't it in Jeremiah where it says that?
40.
Let me get that real quick. It just popped in my mind. I want to get that. Jeremiah 40 something. 49 and 1.
Look at Jeremiah chapter 49 verse 1. Concerning the Ammonites, thus saith the Lord, hath Israel no sons? Hath he no heir? Why then doth their king inherit Gad, and his people dwell in his cities?
And the Ammonites were dwelling in Gad's cities, in the cities of Gad, including the city of Jazar. The city of Jazar was a city in Gad. The Ammonites were there. Let's go back to the book of 1 Maccabees chapter 5 and read verse 8 again.
1 Maccabees chapter 5 verse 8. And when he had taken Jazar,
talking about Judas Maccabeus, he took Jazar from Ammon. Read.
With the towns belonging thereto.
And he took the other towns that belonged to Jazar. Read.
He returned into Judea.
Jump down to verse 11.
Verse 11. And they are preparing to come and take the fortress whereunto we are fled. Timotheus being captain of their host.
Timotheus was an Ammonite. He was an Ammonite, captain of Ammon. Keep going.
Come now, therefore, and deliver us from their hands, for many of us are slain.
Read. No, matter of fact, jump down to 14.
Verse 14. While these letters were yet reading, behold, there came another messenger from Galilee with their clothes rent, who reported on this wise. Keep reading. And said, they are Ptolemies, and of Tyrus and Sidon, and all Galilee, and of the Gentiles.
And all Galilee of the Gentiles are assembled together against us to consume us. So you had Ptolemies, Tyrus, Sidon, and all of Galilee of the Gentiles gathered together to destroy the brothers that were in Galilee. The Jews that were in Galilee. Jump down to 17.
Verse 17. Then said Judas unto Simon his brother, choose thee out men, and go and deliver thy brethren that are in Galilee.
And go and deliver your brethren in Galilee.
For I and Jonathan my brother will go into the country of Gilead,
which is in Gilead. Jump down to 20.
Verse 20. Now unto Simon were given 3,000 men to go into Galilee, and unto Judas 8,000 men for the country of Gilead.
Read.
Then went Simon into Galilee, where he fought many battles with the heathen, so that the heathen were discomfited by him. And he pursued them unto the gate of Ptolemies, and there was slain of the heathen about 3,000 men, whose spoils he took.
So Simon Thassi was not just a man of counsel. He wasn't just a builder. He was also a warrior. He was also a warrior, just like his brothers, just like his father. He was a man of war. Hey, give me chapter 13. Give me chapter 13, 48. Matter of fact, start at 43.
First Maccabees chapter 13, verse 43. In those days Simon camped against Gaza and besieged it round about. He made also
Read it again.
in those days Simon camped against Gaza.
He's talking about in the days that Jerusalem had independence. He's talking about in the days that Jerusalem had sovereignty. Jump up, verse 41.
Verse 41. Thus the yoke of the heathen was taken away from Israel in the 117th year.
In the 170th year of the Greeks. He said the yoke, what did it say? The yoke of the heathen was taken away from Israel. Israel had sovereignty. Israel had independence. Remember, we had independence in Jerusalem for almost 100 years. Almost a century. Give me that. What does it say? Independence. Century of independence. Let me know when we straight. Go ahead.
History of Jerusalem. During its long history, Jerusalem has been attacked 52 times, captured and recaptured 44 times, besieged 23 times, and destroyed twice.
Once with the Babylonians, secondly with the Romans.
The oldest part of the city was settled in the 4th millennium BCE, making Jerusalem one of the oldest cities in the world.
Go over. Hold on one second. Hold up. Go over. This is what I want. Read this.
As a result of the Maccabean revolt, Jerusalem became the capital of the autonomous eventually.
Let me read. It says, as a result of the Maccabean revolt, Jerusalem became the capital of the autonomous and eventually independent Hasmonean state, which lasted for over a century. For over a century, Jerusalem was independent, autonomous. It had sovereignty. After Judah's death, his brothers Jonathan Appius and Simon Thassi were successful in creating and consolidating the state. They were succeeded by John Hyrcanus, Simon's son, who won independence, enlarged Judah's borders, and began minting coins. Go over. Enlarge this. Look at this. Underline. It says, after Seleucid rule, Judah was independent for nearly 80 years before being conquered by Rome, For nearly 80 years. Around a century. Go over anything else?
No.
Nothing else? First Maccabees 13:43 again.
First Maccabees chapter 13, verse 43. In those days, Simon
Read it slowly.
In those days,
talking about in the days that Jerusalem had independence, autonomy. Read.
Simon camped against Gaza and besieged it round about. He made also an engine of war and set it by the city and battered a certain tower and took it.
And he took a tower in Gaza, in the city. Read.
And they that were in the engine leaped into the city, whereupon there was a great uproar in the city, insomuch as the people of the city rent their clothes and climbed upon the walls with their wives and children, and cried with a loud voice, beseeching Simon to grant them peace.
Jump down to verse 48.
Yea, he put all uncleanness out of it.
Talking about out of Gaza, out of the city.
And placed such men there as would keep the law.
And he put men in Gaza that would keep the laws of God, That's who lived in Gaza at the time. Men that kept the law of God. Keep going.
And made it.
Now we know who lives in Gaza today is heathen. Now we know who lives in Gaza today is a bunch of heathen. And a lot of them are being cleared out for another group of heathen to come and move into Gaza. If you know, you know. But keep going.
And made it stronger than it was before.
He made Gaza stronger than it was before. Read.
And built therein a dwelling place for himself.
He even built for himself a house in Gaza. He built a place for himself to live in Gaza. Read.
They also of the tower in Jerusalem were kept so straight.
So not only as they were besieging Gaza, taking Gaza, they were also besieging Jerusalem, taking Jerusalem. Read.
That they could neither come forth, nor go into the country, nor buy, nor sell. Wherefore they were in great distress for want of victuals, and a great number of them perished through famine. Then cried they to Simon, beseeching him to be at one with them,
Have peace.
which thing he granted them.
Read.
And when he had put them out from
When
thence,
he put them out of the tower, out of Jerusalem, read.
he cleansed the tower from pollution, and entered into it
Talking about into the tower in Jerusalem, read.
the 23rd day of the second month,
On the 23rd day of the second month, read.
in the 171st year,
In the 171st year of the Greek Empire, read.
with thanksgiving and branches of palm trees, and with harps and cymbals, and with vows and hymns and songs, hymns and songs, because there was destroyed a great enemy out of Israel.
Read.
He ordained also that that day should be kept every year with gladness. Moreover, the hill of the temple that was by the tower he made stronger than it was, and there he dwelt himself with his company.
Read.
And when Simon saw that John his son was a valiant man, he made him captain of all the host, and he dwelt in Gazara.
And he dwelt at Gazara. John right here is talking. This John right here is John Hyrcanus the first. John Hyrcanus the first. Give me my next folder. Yeah, I think it's 4. I mean, is it? No, it's 3 definitely. Definitely 3. That's it. Hold up. Am I tripping? Oh no, that's it. Go back. History of Jerusalem. So we read that already. Go over. Go over. Go over. Over again. Let's start here. We straight? Let's go. This is from the book of Josephus, chapter 9. Go over. I want to read the whole highlighted part, including the middle part. It's not highlighted. All right.
Hyrcanus took also Dora and Marissa, cities of Idumea, and subdued all the Idumeans, and permitted them to stay in that country, if they would circumcise their genitals and make use of the laws of the Jews. And they were so desirous of living in the country of their forefathers, that they submitted to the use of circumcision and the rest of the Jewish ways of living. At which time, therefore, this befell them, that they were hereafter no other than Jews.
No other than Jews. See, John Hyrcanus the first, the son of Simon Thassi, he's most famous and most remembered for forcibly converting Edomites to be Jews. That's what he's most famous for. That's what he's most remembered for, yo. He forced the Edomites, the Idumeans, to become Jews. This is where you get Jewish people from today. Go over. Enlarge this. Yeah, John Hyrcanus, it says, was a Hasmonean Maccabean leader and Jewish high priest of the 2nd century BCE, born 164 BCE, reigned from 134 BCE until his death in 104 BCE. In rabbinic literature, he is often referred to as Yohanan Cohen, whatever, John the high priest. Go over. Yeah, enlarge this, life and work. Life and work, read that.
Life and work. He was the son of Simon Thassi, and hence the nephew of Judas Maccabeus, Jonathan Apis, and their siblings, whose story is told
in the Deuterocanonical books of 1st Maccabees and 2nd Maccabees,
and the Talmud, and in Josephus. John was not present at the banquet at which his father and his 2 brothers were murdered.
You can read about that in 1st Maccabees 16. Get that real quick. 1st Maccabees 16. About where, no, you can leave it on the screen. 1st Maccabees chapter 16, where Simon and John Hyrcanus brothers were murdered. Start at verse 11, I think.
The book of 1st Maccabees chapter 16 and verse 11.
Yeah, that's it.
Moreover, in the plain of Jericho was Ptolemaeus, the son of Abbas, made captain. Abubas made captain, and he had abundance of silver and gold, for he was the high priest's son-in-law. Wherefore his heart being lifted up, he thought to get the country to himself, and thereupon consulted deceitfully against Simon and his sons to destroy them.
Damn, read.
Now Simon was visiting the cities that were in the country, and taking care for the good ordering of them. At which time he came down himself to Jericho with his sons, Mattathias and Judas, in the 170th year, 17th year, Salakia, in the 11th month called Sabbat, where the son of Abubas receiving them deceitfully into a little hold called Docus, which he had built, made them a great banquet, howbeit he had hid men there.
Damn, read.
So when Simon and his sons had drunk largely, Ptolemy and his men rose up and took their weapons and came upon Simon into the banqueting place and slew him and his 2 sons and certain of the servants.
So they murdered Simon and 2 of his sons. But John Hyrcanus the first was not one of his sons that were murdered. He wasn't caught there. But Simon was killed. Let's go back to reading this. Matter of fact, let's go over. I'm done with this because I want to save time. Go over. I want to enlarge this. I want to read the very last paragraph.
Right down.
You got to go over a little bit. That's good.
Hyrcanus also
Initiated.
initiated a military campaign against the Idumeans, Edomites.
Idumeans are Edomites, right?
During this campaign, Hyrcanus conquered Adora, Marisha, and other Idumean towns. Hyrcanus then instituted forced conversions.
Hyrcanus then instituted forced conversions. He forced the Edomites, the Idumeans, to convert to Judaism. I'm gonna read it. Hyrcanus then instituted forced conversions on the Idumeans to Judaism. This was an unprecedented move for a Judean ruler. See, before this, no ruler over Judah ever forced a heathen into what we know as Judaism. No ruler, no king in Israel ever forced a heathen to be Jews. Now, heathens did decide to be Jews on their own before this. You can read that in Esther. Get that in Esther 8. You know what I'm talking about?
Nah, son.
Esther 8, I think it's like 17. Esther 8 and verse, it is 17. Read that.
The book of Esther, chapter 8, verse 17. And in every province and in every city, whithersoever the king's commandment and his decree came, the Jews had joy and gladness, a feast of a good day. And many of the people of the land became Jews, for the fear of the Jews fell upon them.
So there is a time, there is a precedent when the people of the land converted to Judaism willfully. They did it because they wanted to. But John Hyrcanus the first, what he did to the Idumeans was unprecedented. Unprecedented. Before him, no one, not one Jew, ever forced heathens to convert into Judaism. Now, because of John Hyrcanus, you get what we know as Jewish people, or what you get in the Bible, you get Herod, the Herodians, because of what John Hyrcanus did. Go over real fast. Oh, flip this. Go up to the top. See, go down right there. Click that. You'll have to click it multiple times. Now, just leave it. Now, read that.
Herod, this family thought of Idumean origin.
No.
Though of Idumean origin, and thus alien by race, was Jewish in faith.
Read that again.
Herod, this family, though of Idumean origin, and thus alien by race.
They were alien by race. Alien to who? The Jews. The Jews. The Herodians, not the Herodians. Herod, his line, they were not Jews. they were aliens to the Jews. They were Idumeans. They were Edomites. Go over. Read this.
Herod, Idumean rulers of Palestine.
Go over real quick. Read the definition of Idumea.
Idumea, pertaining to Edom, Greek and Roman name for Edom.
Go back over again. Read that.
Herod, Idumean rulers of Palestine.
So Herod, those were Edomite rulers of Palestine. Those were Edomites who ruled over Palestine. And these Edomites, Herod and his family, these were descendants of the people, the Idumeans, that John Hyrcanus forced to convert into Judaism. These were descendants of those people. Read it again.
Herod, Idumean rulers of Palestine. Line started with Antipater, whom Julius Caesar made procurator of Judea in 447 BC.
So Julius Caesar made him a tax collector in Judea in 47 BC. Read number 1.
1.
Herod the Great.
Herod the Great, first procurator of Galilee, then king of the Jews.
Then king of the Jews. Now we know Julius Caesar made him procurator of Galilee. Oh, excuse me. My fault. Julius Caesar made Antipas procurator of Judea. Who made Herod the Great procurator and then king? Go over. Go over. Go over. Good. Go over again. Enlarge this. Read the highlight.
The Roman Senate then appointed Herod the Great as king of Judea in 37 BC.
So it was the Roman Senate that appointed Herod the Great. I don't see him as the Great. I see him as Herod the child killer, the child murderer. But they call him Herod the Great. The Roman Senate made Herod the child murderer the king of Judea in 37 BC. Is there anything else?
No.
No? Give me that real quick in Luke chapter 1 and verse 5 about him being king. And then give me Matthew chapter 2 about him being a murderer.
The book of Luke chapter 1 and verse 5. There was in the days of Herod, the king of Judea.
King of what?
The king of Judea.
Who made Herod, this Edomite, this stranger by race, the king of Judea? Rome. The Romans. The Roman Senate. Finish the verse.
A certain priest named Zacharias of the course of Abiah, and his wife was of the daughters of Aaron, and her name was Elizabeth.
Give me Matthew chapter 2 about Matthew chapter 2. Read verse 1. And then we're gonna jump down.
Book of Matthew chapter 2 verse 1. Now when Jesus was born in Bethlehem of Judea in the days of Herod the king.
In the days of Herod the king. Idumean, this Edomite who was made king by the Roman Senate. Read.
Behold, there came wise men from the east to Jerusalem.
Jump down to 16.
Verse 16. Then Herod, when he saw that he was mocked of the wise men, was exceeding wroth.
He was pissed. Read.
And sent forth and slew all the children.
And did what?
And slew all the children that were in Bethlehem.
This man was a murderer. He was a murderer of children. This Idumean, this convert to Judaism was a murderer of children. And guess what children he was murdering? Israelite children. Little black and brown children. That's who he was murdering, yo. Children. 2 years old and younger. I don't see him as Herod the Great. To me, he's Herod the murderer. Real talk. Read that part again.
Then Herod, when he saw that he was mocked of the wise men, was exceeding wroth, and sent forth and slew all the children that were in Bethlehem, and in all the coast thereof.
Not only did he kill the children in Bethlehem, but he killed the children that were in the coast of Judea. Read.
From 2 years old and under.
From 2 years of age and under, he was killing children, toddlers, babies, infants. Read.
According to the time which he had diligently acquired of the wise men.
According to the time which he had diligently acquired of the wise men. So this man, Herod, the murderer, which was a descendant of those converts of Idumea, those Edomites, this man was a murderer. He was a murderer. All these converts were murderers. Not only were they murderers of children, but they were murderers of the prophets, murderers of the apostles. Give me real quick Matthew chapter 14. Matthew chapter 14 and verse 6.
Book of Matthew chapter 14 verse 6. But when Herod's birthday was kept, the daughter of Herodias danced before them.
Read.
And pleased Herod.
Read.
Whereupon he promised with an oath to give her whatsoever she would ask. And she, being before instructed of her mother, said, Give me here John Baptist's head in a charger.
She said, give me John Baptiste's head in a charger. I want the head of the prophet, yo. Read.
And the king was sorry, nevertheless, for the oath's sake, and then with at meat, he commanded it to be given her. Verse 10. And he sent and beheaded John in the prison.
And he sent and beheaded John in the prison. Next verse.
And his head was brought in a charger and given to the damsel, and she brought it to her mother.
Who killed John? Who had his head cut off? Herod. Herod. And who is this talking about? Herod Antipas. Herod Antipas. He had John Baptiste murdered. This convert, this Edomite Idumean, murdered the prophet, yo. He murdered the prophet. Give me Acts chapter 12 and verse 1.
The book of Acts chapter 12 verse 1. Now about that time, Herod the king stretched forth his hand to vex certain of the church.
This Herod right here is Herod Agrippa the first. Herod Agrippa the first. Read it again. Grandson to Herod the murderer. He was Herod the murderer's grandson. He was the son of Herod Antipas, the one who murdered John Baptiste. Notice that all of these converts are murderers, murderers of children, murderers of prophets, murderers of apostles. Read it again.
Now about that time, Herod the king stretched forth his hand to vex certain of the church, and he killed James, the brother of John, with the sword.
And he killed James, the brother of John, with the sword. This is James, the brother of John, the ones who had the nickname the Sons of Thunder. This man, Herod Agrippa the first, who is a convert to Judaism, an Edomite, an Idumean, he murdered the apostle James, yo. He murdered the apostle James. Read it again.
He killed James, the brother of John, with the sword.
Read.
Because he saw it pleased the Jews.
Because he saw that it pleased the Jews, wicked niggas of the Jews. Read.
He proceeded further to take Peter also.
Damn.
Then were the days of unleavened bread.
So they arrested Peter also in the days of the unleavened bread. Read.
And when he had apprehended him, he put him in prison.
He put Peter in prison. Read.
And delivered him to 4 centurions of soldiers to keep him, intending after Easter to bring him forth to the people. Peter therefore was kept in prison.
Damn.
But prayer was made without ceasing of the church unto God for him.
Peter therefore was kept in prison. Give me Revelation 2 and 9. James was killed. Who killed him? Herod, this convert. Peter was thrown in prison. Who put him in prison? Herod, this convert. Give me Revelation 2, 9 and 10, please.
Book of Revelation chapter 2 and verse 9. I know thy works and tribulation and poverty, but thou art rich.
Who is Christ talking to? The real Jews. The real Jews. Read.
And I know the blasphemy of them which say they are Jews.
He said, I know the blasphemy of them who say they are Jews. Read.
And are not.
But they are not Jews. Read.
But are the synagogue of Satan.
Who is he talking about? Those converts. Those converts. Those Edomite Idumeans who were saying they were Jews, but they were not Jews. They were alien by race. They were and are the synagogue of Satan. Keep reading.
Verse 10.
Verse 10.
Verse 10. Fear none of those things which thou shalt suffer.
Fear none of those things which thou shalt suffer. Read.
Behold, the devil.
Behold, who?
The devil.
Who is he calling the devil? Those converts. Those Idumean Edomites that converted to Judaism. He's calling them the devil. He's calling Herod the Great the devil. He's calling Herod Antipas the devil. He's calling Herod Agrippa the first the devil. Read it again.
Fear none of those things which thou shalt suffer.
Fear none of those things which thou shalt suffer. Read.
Behold, the devil.
Read.
Shall cast some of you into prison.
The devil will cast some of you into prison. Read.
That ye may be tried.
And you're going to be tried. Read.
And ye shall have tribulation 10 days.
You're going to be afflicted 10 days. Read.
Be thou faithful unto death.
Be faithful even unto death. Read.
And I will give thee a crown of life.
He said, and I will give thee a crown of life. Christ told his disciples, the devil is going to cast some of you into prison. The devil is going to kill you. Be faithful even unto death. You get a crown of life. What Christ said to his disciples then applies to us now. Remember, the thing that hath been is that which shall be. Give me that in Ecclesiastes chapter 1 and verse 9. What goes around comes around. History repeats itself. What happened to the apostles and the prophets, or the prophets and the apostles in time past, will happen to the apostles and the prophets today. Today. Read this real quick.
Ecclesiastes chapter 1 verse 9.
Read.
The thing that hath been, it is that which shall be.
That which hath been is that which shall be. Read.
And that which is done is that which shall be done.
And that which was done in time past is that which will be done in the future. Read.
And there is no new thing under the sun.
And there is no new thing under the sun, yo. This is why Christ told his disciples at that time, give me Luke chapter 21. Luke chapter 21 and 12. He told his disciples at that time, fear none of those things that you will suffer. And that same thing he told his disciples at that time applies to us today. Fear none of those things thou shalt suffer. Give me this real quick.
The book of Luke 21 verse 12. But before all these,
Before all what? Jump up to 11.
verse 11, and great earthquakes shall be in diverse places, and famines, and pestilences, and fearful sights, and great signs shall there be from heaven.
So great earthquakes, famines, pestilences shall be in diverse places. Read.
But before all these,
before the great earthquakes and the famines and the pestilences that are in diverse places, which signal the end of the world, before all of these things, read.
they shall lay their hands on you.
Christ is talking to his disciples. He said, before all these things happen, they're going to arrest you. The people are going to lay their hands on you and arrest you. Read.
And persecute you.
And they're going to persecute you.
Delivering you up to the synagogue.
You know what happened when you were delivered up in the synagogues? You were scourged. You were beaten. Give me that real quick. Matthew chapter 10. Just to precept it. I want Matthew chapter 10 and read verse 17.
The book of Matthew chapter 10 verse 17. But beware of men, for they will deliver you up unto the councils, and they will scourge you in their synagogues.
They will beat your ass in the synagogue. That's what Christ is saying. Beware of men. They will deliver you up to the council, and they will beat your ass in the synagogues. Let's go back to Luke 21, read verse 12 again.
The book of Luke chapter 21 verse 12. But before all these, they shall lay their hands on you and you, delivering you up to the synagogues.
To be beaten in those synagogues. Read.
And into prisons.
And into prisons.
Being brought before kings and rulers for my name's sake.
He said being brought before kings and rulers for my name's sake. Who was Christ talking to? His apostles and his disciples. The prophets at that time, yo. At that time. And we just read about it a little bit with James and Peter. With James and Peter. How they were arrested in prison. James was murdered. James was murdered, yo. By Herod. The damn devil. Hey, let's go from there. Give me the book of Acts chapter 16. All right. Give me Acts 16, 19.
The book of Acts chapter 16 and verse 19. And when her masters saw that the hope of their gains was gone, they caught Paul and Silas and drew them into the marketplace unto the rulers.
They caught Paul and Silas. Paul and Silas are apostles. Paul and Silas are prophets. Silas was a prophet. Give me that real quick in chapter 15 and 32 to show Silas was a prophet.
Look at Acts chapter 15 and verse 32. And Judas and Silas.
This is Judas Barsabas. Judas and Silas, read.
Being prophets.
Being what?
Being prophets also themselves.
Judas and Silas were prophets. Silas was a prophet. Finish the verse.
Exhorted the brethren with many words and confirmed them.
Go back to chapter 16 and 19.
The book of Acts chapter 16 verse 19. And when her masters saw that the hope of their gains was gone, they caught Paul and Silas and drew them into the marketplace unto the rulers.
Read.
And brought them to the magistrates.
And brought them to the magistrates. Read.
Saying
what?
These men being Jews.
Saying these men being Jews. Read.
Do exceedingly trouble our city.
They exceedingly trouble our city, man. Read.
And teach customs which are not lawful for us to receive, neither to observe, being Romans.
Being what?
Being Romans.
Being Romans. Read.
And the multitude rose up together against them. And the magistrates rent off their clothes and commanded to beat them.
And commanded the people to beat Paul and Silas, to beat the apostles, the prophets. Read.
And when they had laid many stripes upon them.
And when they had laid many stripes upon them, meaning they beat Paul and Silas. They beat the apostle and the prophet for real. They laid many stripes on them. Read.
They cast them into prison, charging the jailer to keep them safely.
So after
safely.
they were beaten,
Safely.
they were thrown into prison. Read.
Verse 24, who, having received such a charge, thrust them into the inner prison, and made their feet fast in the stocks.
And the jailer threw them into prison. And he put their feet in stocks so they could not move. This is what Christ told his apostles, his disciples, would happen. He told them this would happen. You would be beaten, imprisoned, and subsequently killed, yo. And what he said to them in time past, he said to us for today. Give me the book of Matthew chapter 24. Matthew chapter 24. I want to read verses 7 through 9.
Matthew chapter 24, verse 7. For nation shall rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom. And there shall be famines, and pestilences, and earthquakes in diverse places.
All of these are signs of the end of the world. Next verse.
All these are the beginning of sorrows.
The beginning of sorrows, read.
Then shall they deliver you up to be afflicted.
They shall deliver you up to be afflicted or to have tribulation. Where? In the prisons. In those prisons, read.
And shall kill you.
And subsequently, they're going to kill you, yo. Read.
And ye shall be hated of all nations for my name's sake.
And you shall be hated of all nations for my name's sake. This is why Christ said, fear none of those things thou shalt suffer, yo. Don't be afraid of those things that we are going to suffer. Imprisonment, subsequent death. For example, we have to endure. Last verse, Matthew 10:22.
The book of Matthew chapter 10. The book of Matthew chapter 10 and verse 22. And ye shall be hated of all men for my name's sake, but he that endureth to the end shall be saved.
We have to endure. We have to endure to the end if we want salvation. Hey, anybody got anything they want to add? Any precepts? Hey, well, all praises. We're going to end this thing like we began this thing. And that's by giving all praises, all glory, all honor to the Most High God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, through his only begotten Son, Jesus Christ. Secondly, double honors to our elders again. They rule well. They're counted worthy of double honors. They get their double honors. Lastly, I want to say to all of my brothers, all of my sisters out there, Shalom, farewell. My name is Priest Lithiyel617 Israel. I'm with the Holy Nation of Israel, Straight Gate of Israel, here on YouTube. Like, comment, share, subscribe here on YouTube. Support us. Help us push this truth. Also, you'll find us on Facebook, Holy Nation of Israel. You'll find us on Instagram, HNOI2617. You'll find me on Instagram, Lithiyel617. You'll find me on Facebook, Lithiyel Ben Israel. Hey, shout out to my brother Ron Ben Israel, Priest Ron. You'll find the bro on Instagram at Ron Ben Israel, but underscore between Ron Ben and Israel and all lowercase. And you'll find the brother on Facebook as well, man, at Ron Ben Israel. So y'all like, comment, share, follow, subscribe, hit the bell, stay up with the notifications, stay in tune with the latest drops. We usually have drops and content coming out weekly, yo. You know what I'm saying? So with that, Shalom, Israel, Shalom. How long was that?
Hour 6.